All right. Start virtual camera. All right, let me make sure that we're live. Hey, Chris, let me get a sound check.
I can hear you, but you got an echo.
I have an echo?
Yep.
How's that?
A little better.
Let me see. All right. What's going on? We are live. Live. So, welcome to the stream, everyone. I got Chris O'Malley on the line. He is one of my favorite commercial truck drivers. But that's kind of biased. It's kind of biased. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about Rogel Aguilera Mederos. For those people who don't know, he is a truck driver. Now, I haven't read into it. Chris knows more about the case than I do. I'm sitting here with a bowl of oatmeal because I haven't really had much to eat all day. Um, Welcome everyone to the live. So, for those people who are just joining the live, um, and that have no idea what's going on, this truck driver basically, I'm going to say, is accused of killing how many people?
4.
4 people out in the state of Colorado, right? Was it Colorado?
Yeah, it was Colorado.
And the story goes that he was sentenced to 110 years in prison for what some would say is a mechanical failure. And that's why it's very important that you guys, the fans, know exactly uh, what our background is in trucking. I'm a commercial truck driver myself. Chris is a commercial truck driver as well. Chris, when did you get your license?
5. I don't know, 5 years ago.
Okay, I say the same, give or take, probably a little bit longer. I think I got mine back in like 2016, if I'm not mistaken. I think I enrolled January of 2016, and then got my license June of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it's about 10 years of experience between the both of us. So I wonder, do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see all the research that I'm pulling up, or should I just read it out loud? Chris, what would you prefer?
I would say if you could show it, you might as well show it, because a lot of I think a lot of what's being shown to everybody is inaccurate.
Okay, so let me try to figure this out. Take that, move that over there. Sorry about the infinity screen, everyone. Let me just make sure you guys can see what I see. I am going to separate the tab. So I'm going to minimize this. All right, you guys can see what I see, but for some reason, it looks inverted on my side. Is it inverted? I don't know. I'm still new to this. Is it inverted on your side, Chris?
Um,
Or flipped, I should say.
no, it looks right.
So you can read everything?
Yeah.
All right. So should I just click on the first source, CBS News? Let me pull up his name. So Rogel. All right. Let's see if I can pull up any videos on it. I probably shouldn't do that because we could get copyrighted. So, all right. So the latest news is million sign petition after trucker gets 110-year sentence. So Chris and I, we were discussing it, and just a little bit before I decided to go live, I'm gonna click on CBS News and just see what the deal was. Let's see. All right, so it looks like he missed a couple of the runaway ramps too, as well. All right, this is the driver who lost brakes. I don't know the whole story, but if it's a lease truck, how does he know what condition the drums are in? 110 years, a brake failure can also happen to anyone, which is why they have the runoff ramps on the highway. All right, so that brings up a very good, interesting point. So us truck drivers, and we talk about this in our regular videos quite often. Um, Now, I don't want to say that Chris and I we agree with the 110-year sentence, but do we think he's innocent, Chris?
No, no, not at all.
Okay. So Boris the German said, "This is the driver who lost brakes. He doesn't know the whole story, but if it's a leash truck, how does he know what condition the drums are in?" Chris, what is it? What is it called? Uh, what are we supposed to do at the beginning of every shift before we embark on our journey?
Yeah, we do a pre-trip, and so even if it was a mechanical failure,
It
driver
is
should have noticed that there was something wrong with the brakes.
so. To piggyback off of what Chris said, even if it was a mechanical failure, it is our job as the professionals to understand what is going on with our truck and the environment around us and the driving conditions. So we have what's called drive for five or defensive driving. On top of whatever we have, um, on top of doing a pre-trip inspection, if it was Rotors, that's a little bit different. There's really not a way for you to check that. But I don't know how new this guy is. I don't know what his driving career looks like. And I think maybe we can dig into that. But at the end of the day, it's still your responsibility as a professional driver. Um, it's still your responsibility as a professional driver to make sure that you are going to be safe not only for yourself but also for the general public. So, Boss Taddow said, Thaddle, Boss Thaddle said he should have tested his brakes before going down the mountain. It doesn't matter what your brakes feel like at the top of the hill. Truck brakes are not designed to stop a 80,000 pound rig going 75 miles per hour down a down a downgrade or down a street for that matter without the the compounding of other factors that your truck is equipped with. So you have the Jake brake, which a lot of people they don't understand is you're using the power of the engine to help slow down your truck. Now I don't know if he had an automatic. I don't know if he had a 10 speed, but if he had an automatic, that's even worse. That's even worse because automatics will quickly lock you out of a gear, but in some benefit, it'll help you, like, an automatic, if you're trying to switch it into manual, I know from experience, if you try to switch an automatic into manual and you try to get it into a gear, it'll lock you out. Same thing with driving a manual transmission truck. If you're not in the right gear before you need to be in that gear, it's all about looking at your overall picture and then making that judgment call. So let me see if we can find out some information as to what kind of driving conditions he was in. No drugs or alcohol. Let me see.
Two things. I'm gonna guess he was in a manual tranny because
I haven't even seen the truck yet.
he was either in too high of a gear or he couldn't grab a gear and he was in neutral. Which is why the Jake brake wouldn't work either way.
Yep.
Boris says the auto has no Jake brake. That's not accurate.
That's not accurate at all. My truck has the Jake brake. It's not a very loud one, but it has a Jake brake.
Somebody's saying here, it was an automatic transmission.
Let me see. The one guy said it was an auto transmission. So if there's an auto, like, so for instance, my truck, yeah, I mean, auto transmission trucks, we know that they're becoming more and more common and more popular nowadays, but it's not really the wave. Why? Because when I say the wave, I'm sorry, it's not really the thing to do, because what you're doing is you are taking the power and the responsibility out of the hands of the driver and leaving it up to technology. So whereas what an experienced driver with a manual transmission truck, with the knowledge that you need to be in the correct gear for any grade. I'm sorry, for those people who don't know what a grade is, it's the incline or decline of the road you are driving on. So, like a zero grade would just be like, just flat surface. But the higher up the number grade percentage it goes, the steeper the hill is. So like out here in Connecticut, we have, I think the highest I've ever seen was like a 9% grade. Meanwhile, in Colorado, where this guy was, I don't know what the grade is. I haven't even seen the road. I have not seen the truck. But from what I'm telling you, uh, when you rely on technology to take the guesswork out of the hands of the driver, you're basically putting the driver and everyone else's life around the driver in hands of technology, which we know isn't 100% foolproof. And if that's the case, then let's leave it into the driver's hands. Um, but if it so it wasn't automatic, let me see if I could find the research on that. What kind of truck he had. Let's see, Rogel truck. Um, what kind of truck? All right, let's see. Um, so it says here he was driving a tractor trailer traveling at 85 miles per hour when the brakes failed. Okay, so first and foremost, if you have an automatic truck, who put the governor on that truck and why was it set so high? Um, let's see. I'm just trying to find like information on it.
Let me answer Boris here. What's the complete story on this? So, from what I understand, the driver had no experience driving the mountains. He was a new driver to begin with. The company sent him out there. The company sent him out there full send. No, just like I said, no experience. He hit the hill coming down way too fast. He bypassed two runaway ramps. Got down to stop traffic because there was an accident up in front, and instead of putting the truck into a ditch or whatever, he hit the four-wheelers. He avoided another rig, and he hit the four-wheelers. When he was asked about it, he said that he chose the four-wheelers because it would hurt less.
All right, so Boris said he drove single axle USPS cabs, all automatic. The engine brake isn't what it could be. Correct, but the engine brake is a assist. It's a brake assist as well as being in the correct gear. So for people who've never driven a truck before, being in the correct gear is a crucial part of being a it's what separates the boys from the men, because if you're not in the correct gear it can literally mean life or death. So I was trained when approaching a hill, whether up or down, you should be in the gear that you want to be in or the gear that you should be in, depending on the grade, if you know the grade, but at least try to downshift at least twice. That's the way that I was trained. So even if this guy was in 10th, you downshift twice and you have an automatic, it's literally you're pushing a lever to tell the truck to downshift. That's number one. So you don't have to worry about synchronizing the transmission with the engine, which a lot of people can't do because me, I have no rhythm, but you know, push comes to shove, you got to match your engine speed. You have to match your RPMs with um, you have to match your RPMs with the road speed, so that way you can get it into the gear that you need to be in. But then you need to stab your brakes and learn to control your vehicle as well. Those brakes, even though you have 10 canisters, that's not enough to stop a fully loaded truck on a regular street, never mind going downhill. So Joe Gosselin said something very important. He says, I think so. Chris, he chose not to use the runaway ramps. He chose not to put it in a ditch because he didn't want to get hurt or die.
Yeah,
So
I just read that, and I can't agree anymore. I mean, I agree 100%. And I said this to Mike earlier. You know, we kind of have an unwritten rule. Where it's, I'll put the truck in a ditch and take my own life before I put my truck into a bunch of four-wheelers. I don't know how many kids are in that car. I don't know, even if there weren't kids, it doesn't matter. I'll take my chances before I go to hurt anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a valid argument. It's a completely valid argument.
But see, him being that's if he's a new driver, and what Chris said is absolutely 100%. I will risk my life and put myself in a ditch. You know, number one, you should have your seatbelt on. Seatbelts are designed to save lives. That's number one. Number two, by you not using a runaway ramp that is designed to keep your vehicle in one piece, while safely getting you to stop, that to me is someone who doesn't have experience to understand what a runaway ramp was. Like, I remember I was training a guy and he kept making a joke about cat scales. And I was like, do you understand what a cat scale is? He's like, nah, that's made up. I'm like, you're joking, right? And he was like, what is a cat scale? I'm like, it's where you go to get your vehicle accurately weighed so that when you get pulled into an official DOT weigh station, you know your weight on every single axle. See, students fresh out of school, they don't understand that. They don't understand all the terminology. They don't understand the lingo, and they don't understand what it is to be a professional driver just yet. And everything that comes along with it, there's a lot of information out there. That's why training is so important and so imperative. But also, when this guy, when he chose, so this is just me saying I don't know what, because I still have not read the story. I have not seen any witness testimony. I haven't seen any videos of him purposely avoiding the runaway truck ramps. But
there is a video.
Okay.
Where and there people argue that he wasn't set up to hit the runaway ramp. There's a video of one of the runaway ramps, and from what I see no reason why he couldn't have hit that runaway ramp.
I mean, Chris, not for nothing, but hitting a runaway ramp at 85 miles an hour. What do you think it's going to do to your truck?
Well, I mean, those ramps are really soft. They're designed so you sink.
Yep, exactly.
That's
versus
regardless of what it's going to do to your truck.
Yep, but
you're not going to kill anybody.
Exactly. So him talking about he didn't want to get hurt or die, dude, you've already sent it downhill. You're not in the right gear. You're in the automatic. So if you're in an automatic, it's a lot easier for you to tell the truck to get in the correct gear, max out your jakes, but see, Johnny Doe, common sense isn't so common. Whereas we're not really relying on common sense. We're relying on the training that this guy had and what exposure to the adverse driving conditions that the Rockies has before he was sent out there solo. Like, how much time did he have with a trainer before he went out there?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I could say, from what's been reported, is he was inexperienced and he had no experience in the mountains. So that's the negligence on the company's part as well.
Yep.
But this last comment here, German, you're right. And I got a truck that's governed at 70. I've got it up to 74 before the Jake automatically kicks on. If it wasn't governed though, I can get it downhill going quicker. The Jake, once you're going that fast and the grade is steep enough, the Jake, if you're not in the right gear, the Jake is null and void.
Yep. But this is what I'm saying though. So he had an automatic. At some point, he had to have had an opportunity to downshift that truck, which is just the tap of a lever. I know because I do it in my truck. So he's not,
You get to the top of that mountain, once you get up to the summit and you start going downhill, I mean, you just downshift it once and lock it in and throw your Jake on high. And then you just tap your brakes accordingly. You're not going to be riding your brakes. You're not going to fade, and you'll be good.
But I tell you what though, if he was ascending one side of a summit and then approaching the downward side of the summit, and he knew that it either had to level out or it was going to go downhill at some point, that should have been his opportunity. With experience, he should have known to get ready to downshift at the minimum once. Especially if he was loaded. Let's see. Let me just take a quick second to read this. The crash led to a fiery 28 car pileup that left 4 dead. Lakewood Police Department. 23 other charges, 6 counts of assault in the first degree, 10 counts of attempted to commit assault in the first. Let's just call it what it is. It's vehicle manslaughter. 1 count of reckless driving and 4 counts of careless driving. Okay, like that's. I feel like they add to it, like trying to. I don't know. I'm not going to get into politics here. Colorado law requires courts to sentence most individual convicted of certain categories of crimes to a mandatory minimum period of incarceration. Let's see. There will be an appeal as to the fact in a mistake made in trial. They said that Mederos, who's this guy's last name, does not deserve to die in prison. The issue with this appeal will not be the sentence itself. Under the law, the court was not incorrect. However, the law, as written, is barbaric and draconian. There needs to be a change in the law. Let's see. Um, so it was a 28 car pileup. Let's see. Let me look up the facts of the case. Facts. All right. All right.
I agree with both of these guys. You know, it is common sense. Uh, it is common sense, 100%. I just think the company bears some responsibility as well. You know, there's got to be some liability with them.
Yeah. So I mean, when we get into it, it's ultimate. Do I think he's innocent? No. Do I think he should have walked? No. 110 years a bit excessive? Yes. Do we think he should drive ever again professionally or even at all? No. All right, let's see. I'm in shock and his brakes failed. It was not intentional. It was an accident. All right, so let's talk about that. Let's unwrap that a little bit. In order for your brakes to fail, Chris, one must not have done what? A pre-trip, and B, understood what's going on before or what's happening before like it's too late, right?
Right. You know, odds are in this situation, and I don't know 100%, but odds are that, you know, he rode those brakes. He rode them until they failed.
Yep.
It's, you know, either way, whether it was mechanical or brake fade, that's still the responsibility on the driver. Still, no matter what, it's the driver's responsibility.
Yep. So I think that it should be addressed that for the audience that doesn't really know much about how brakes work, there's a thing called brake fade. Brake fade happens you put when you exert more force on your brakes to to slow your vehicle down, and your brakes heat up so much that they lose friction. Friction because uh, brakes are designed to do a couple things: last a while, long enough so that you can get your vehicle under control, but withstand certain operating temperatures and produce heat because they're not supposed to produce light. So when you get when you create friction, you do you can do one of three things: create light, create heat, or create noise. So we don't brakes aren't designed to make noise, and we know brakes aren't designed to make light, but the output of the brake is to create heat, friction, and when I see, I don't know if he had drums or rotors, but let's just assume he had drums. The brake pads open up and squeeze against the inners of a drum, and that is what causes friction all around the drum, top and bottom, to slow your vehicle down. Now, brake fade happens when there's too much heat and your brakes lose friction. And that's probably what happened with this guy's truck, most likely, because they're just saying his brakes failed. How do your brakes fail? So it's either you didn't do a pre-trip inspection, or you waited way too long to brake, or you're not, you know, being an inexperienced driver, you don't understand the physics and the amount of stopping force that it takes to, or the amount of braking force it takes to slow your vehicle down, never mind stop it. All right, so German Jesus said the company that serviced the truck has had multiple infractions since 2017. Don't give me that crap. It's the driver's responsibility to make sure that he has the knowledge and the know how to stop his vehicle. And being in an automatic does not create an excuse. It also, if anything, it almost puts more onus on the driver to manually tell your truck what to do before it does it. That's like one of the last trainees I had. He would rely on the automatic transmission so much so that when we approach certain, because you got, if you guys seen my videos, we go through all types of different scenarios, and up uphills, downhills, have to make a sharp right turn to go quickly uphill, and your transmission, it doesn't know what it needs, what gear it needs to be in. So there's times where we're bogging down on a hill, and I'm looking over at the driver from the passenger seat, and I'm like, "You're really just gonna let your truck struggle?" Like, you as the driver, he was like, "But it's an automatic; it should be able to do it." Keyword should, but you as the driver, you know better. So stop relying on technology to make a decision against your judgment. That's You cannot rely on technology to and take the human element out of it. When you take the human element out of it, we'll see how long those Tesla trucks last on the road. We'll see what happens when those Tesla trucks have to drive through the mountains of Colorado with their sensors blocked because of the snow. We'll see what happens then. We'll see how many car pileups then. You think Elon Musk is going to be, and this isn't to crap on Tesla, but we'll see what the response is then, because it pisses me off. Excuse my French, because I'm trying to keep this family friendly, but it really teased me off that even with little experience, the driver could not smack his shifter, his electronic shifter, mind you, if it's an automatic. That's if it is an automatic. I can't find any information on the truck, but that almost gives you like a what would you call that, Chris? Like a not really a get out of jail free card, but it's like an easier way to do it. It's like finding the answers to the question in the back of the book. It's like it's as easy as taking your phone and pushing it forward to tell your transmission to downshift. Now, when you're going uphill, he should have been downshifted anyway. Why are you climbing a hill in 10th gear or whatever? That's what I don't understand.
Well, he wouldn't have been climbing that hill in 10th gear. That's
But that's even more of a reason to control your transmission, to control your vehicle, because if he wasn't climbing the hill in 10th, we were trained whatever gear you're climbing the hill, you should be in at least that gear or a gear lower to descend the other side of the hill.
right.
So that's even more of a reason that they need to get some experienced truck drivers on that board to make a legitimate decision, because that to me, that shows driver negligence. You as a driver know that you're not climbing the hill, and that's a very good point. You're climbing the hill, and depending on the grade, you could be climbing the hill in 7th, 6th, depending on how many gears your automatic transmission is. And again, this is all hearsay. Uh, I have not been able to locate any stats about the vehicle he's driving. Let's see. But
Yeah, Boris, I agree with you there, and I'm not sure exactly what grade he was on, and maybe somebody could correct me. But coming over both of those, if I remember correctly, there's signs well in advance that I think trucks have a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit.
had a what? I'm sorry.
There's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit
Sign.
coming down. Yeah, there's signs well in advance. I think it's 35. It might even be 25. I haven't been out there in a little bit, but
Let's see. All right, so Interstate 70 speed limit on Interstate 70 in Colorado. All right. Open mountain highways 40. Can you guys still see my screen?
yeah,
Okay.
the speed limit for trucks is not 40 coming
Oh
over.
no. I know that, but I was just reading here. Open speed limit on for trucks or commercial vehicles. Wow, 20. Let's see. Windy mountain highways or blind curves. Speed limit 20. All right, let's see. Colorado law establishes speed limits for roads and highways within the state. The Colorado Department of Transportation (CDOT) and local authorities may change the speed limit for any road under the respective jurisdictions if the department or local authority determines that the speed limit established by law is greater or less than what is reasonable or safe for road or traffic conditions. Now, I'm going to stop it right there. So we were trained because Chris and I we went to the same school. We were trained that in what is the terminology? Um, what do you call that, Chris? Adverse driving conditions such as rain. You should reduce your speed by a third in the rain for commercial trucks. In snow, at least by half. I got some eggnog scones here that Nicole made. Shout out to Nicole. She is the world's best baker. Um, but here it says state speed limits on narrow, winding mountain highways or blind curves, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, Terrence, I did read that a couple times. I don't know if that's 100% accurate.
What?
That a driver didn't speak English.
Let me see. Trailer Train in Glasgow says sounds like brain fade, not brake fade. Okay, so Boss says that the speed limit was 45. Then Boris said climbing a grade when you're loaded, you're not getting 35. Now, was he loaded though?
Yeah, I gotta assume he was loaded. Otherwise,
see, I wish there was a way that I could like see all the like a list of the facts of the case. Like I need to know, like even stuff, like even as to like his BOL, like that could help us understand some stuff too.
he wanted to burn his brakes up.
Yeah. Facts of the case. Like I don't think we could watch the whole case live. Uh, let's see. What company did he work for? Pilot. No way. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Hold on. 1 second. I don't mean to laugh. Is that the name of the company? Hold on. That got to be a cool. You guys see that, right? So it says here in Colorado, felonies have a strict prison term ranges or sentence range. Um, The second factor, which is really doing the work here, is in Colorado there are sentencing enhancers whenever you commit a crime of violence. Crime of violence is one that involves someone being killed or serious bodily injury. One of the enhancers in the Aguilera Mederos case increases the minimum sentence per count, while the other mandates that the sentences must be served consecutively instead of concurrently, meaning one after the other. Um, all right. On social media, the hashtag Don't Drive Colorado, No Trucks Colorado. Um, see, I think that it should be. I would like to know how much training has this guy had, and what company does he work for? I don't know. Let's see. All right. Trailer Training Glasgow says drivers should be in control of the speed of the truck, not the gearbox. I take it American trucks with auto box can override the box. Mm, elaborate. Let's see. Boss says full of lumber. Let's see. Saving and planning with electric trucks. Well, that's not going to happen. Co-pilot time. We can't learn that from a book. That is correct. So, what are your guys' thoughts on automatic versus manual transmission trucks? And if this guy did in fact have an automatic truck, if this guy did have an automatic truck, you know, do we think that we should? What do you think that we should do as far as training students better on automatic trucks? Meaning, like, don't just let the automatic truck do all the thinking for you. All right, so Trailer Training Glass Glow says in the UK, an auto box can be clicked down to a lower gear. Yes, here in America, it is the same thing. That's why we are putting more of an emphasis on. That's why we're putting more of an emphasis on that exact thing. You know, that is exactly why. Oh, sorry about the infinity screen. Yeah. What if the auto trans had a failure with the trans service soon and the company just said go drive it? Well, it is still the driver's responsibility to call that shot. At no time, at at no time does my experience or does my judgment override what Chris his judgment is there at the time. I need a liquid cooler on the PC. I actually have a very expensive cooling pad underneath it. Why? Is it really loud? Let's see. What if the auto trans had a failure? Yep. Let's see. At least with the manual, he could have thrown it into first gear and roasted the tires trying to stop, but probably would have thrown the drive shaft 500 yards. Yeah, but then what good would that have done when the drive shaft is what's keeping your wheels from spinning out of control? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and yeah, dropping your gears from seventh down to first, that there's no way that that would go in. Not with those speeds anyway, and not especially not with that load. Oh, you saw the temperature? Yeah, these are. This laptop tends to always run warm. I don't know why. You guys can see my core temps here. What about the brake retarder, which is electrical and reduces engine revs? So yeah, the Jake brake, the engine brake, Jake brake, engine brake. No matter what you call it, it's still gonna do the same thing. But at the end of the day, this driver needs to understand, or he did need to understand, that you can't just solely rely on your brakes to slow your vehicle down. Like for the for the fans that are watching, um, one thing in school that they and this is why I'm not a big fan of students that get automatic restriction license. Um, when you learn to drive a manual transmission truck, I the way that I explained it to my friends who had no idea how to drive a manual transmission tractor trailer, when I told them about double clutching, they were like, "What's that?" And I still remember the motto from school: clutch neutral, clutch gear, clutch neutral, clutch gear. So you have to double clutch. But one thing that a lot of students couldn't grasp, me included, at first, was when you downshift in a manual transmission truck, you need to step on the gas momentarily to get the transmission to drop into the next lowest gear. Why? Because you need to match your engine speed with the transmission or road speed to synchronize them. And if you don't do that, then it'll you'll grind the crap out of your transmission. I don't know. I couldn't. Listen, if anyone has any direct links for this case, please put it in the comment section so I can click on it and broadcast it, please. And also, while you guys are here, make sure you guys smash that like button and share the stream. Yeah, the clutch has a brake, but it's you know most professional drivers, Chris, when do we use the clutch? Realistically,
Uh, Taking off from a stopper, putting it in reverse.
that's it. That's it. Jake failed, brakes failed, or he cooked them beforehand, and it was a few things that compounded, not one thing. Exactly, exactly. And I think
But see,
inexperience.
that's why I kind of think though. That's why I kind of think it was probably a manual transmission, and he wasn't in here because then the Jake's useless. And my guess is he couldn't grab the gear going downhill. And this is just a guess. You know, he couldn't grab a gear going downhill. The Jakes are useless at that point because you're in neutral. And that thing just became a loaded missile.
Yep. Oh, Boris the German said, no, I'm saying this is why you double clutch. Oh, yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is that I'm explaining to the people who are watching this is that, you don't. I had the hardest time understanding when I went to school because they don't, they just want to get you in, get you out. Even though Chris and I, Chris, you did full course.
Did I what?
You did full course at Nets.
Yeah.
So even the 6 months when you're in the classroom, all they want you to do is do paperwork. They don't really give you the full story. It's like watching the O.J. Simpson trial all over again. They don't really give you the full story. So, when you're for the people who are watching who have never driven a commercial tractor trailer or a commercial manual speed transmission, in order for you to downshift, you have to hit the accelerator momentarily to match your RPMs with your transmission. If not, it's not going to go in. And if you don't understand that, and this is the big debate because without us knowing what kind of truck he had or what kind of transmission, what the weight of the material was, uh, did it say how heavy he was?
Somebody a little bit ago said he was loaded with lumber. So
Yeah, but how much lumber? That.
I
But either way, it happened. You know
gotta
what?
be on the heavier side.
Yeah. Um. Let's see. Going downhill and you aren't in gear, it is really hard to get it back in gear. That is so. Anyone who doesn't know that, it's kind of like your truck is going, like the actual speed of your vehicle is going too fast for your transmission to catch up with it at any given speed, and you need to slow your vehicle down. That's why it's very important that it's very important that you're in the correct gear prior to ascending or descending any hill, most importantly, but at all times. So even when you're sitting at a light, and ask any real truck driver, you are never in neutral. You should always, always, always be in a gear. I don't care if your leg hurts. I don't care if your left clutch leg is shaking. You need to always be in a gear. I don't care how long that leg is taking. If you are anticipating on driving, you always need to be in a gear. So that's why it's absolutely imperative that whether the circumstances show that he was in an automatic truck, that would take a little more, if not less, liability and to put it on the driver because it's like If you're in automatic, how the hell are you not in a gear? How? Like, unless you try to override your truck and it just didn't work out, which that has happened to me before, but not in those speeds. Trying to climb a hill, I override the transmission. I know that this transmission should drop 2 gears. The truck beeps at me. Chris, how many times has that happened to you? Where you tell Chris, why don't you tell everyone listening what's the year, make, and model of the vehicle you have?
What's the what?
Year, make, and model of the truck you have.
Oh, I'm in a 19 Freightliner.
So, how many times have has your driver instinct kicked in and told you that you need to be like, for this grade, your vehicle should be in a specific gear, and then you manually try to override the transmission, and then it locks you out?
Well, yeah, it'll do that. I think it only does that though if I try to, let's just say I want to downshift. If the truck wants to downshift at the same time that I do, it won't. It'll only drop 1 gear.
Oh, yep. Yeah, and so I don't know why my screen looks like that, but whatever. Let's see. All right. I learned in a manual truck, and part of the test was gear exercise, going up the gears, down the gears, and make sure you use them all to make sure you use the box the right way. Yep. Yep. Let me try this real quick. I mean, and that's all a part of training, though. So if it's all a part of training, at what point does his company make sure? Like my last training, I made sure that he understood what he needed to work on. He didn't like hearing it, but I don't
I don't know
know.
what his hours of service were that day.
Yeah, like I tried looking up, the facts of the case to get some type of meat to sink my teeth into, but I couldn't really find any. If you guys can find any, let me know. Yeah, so I mean, if if he is a new driver, that's one thing. But at the end of the day, it's very important that man and machine become one. And when you introduce technology to it, it takes the guesswork out of it, and it just lets the driver just be a steering wheel holder. And that's not what we need, because then drivers get complacent. They don't know how to drive in adverse driving conditions, such as weather, um, such as weather, such as traffic, taking detours. That's like having a driver follow GPS directions without looking in front of them to see that, hey, the road is not complete and find another way. All right, so boss says going by the video, it looks like an old Freightliner. How old we talking? And then Boris the German says, yeah, the company should have known something about how green he is. Yep. Um, truck is worse than a plane. I don't know. I've never flown a plane. I can't attest to that. Make sure you guys smash that like button and share the stream, please. Yep. Enrique, it's very sad, but so Enrique, what are your thoughts on the case? Because I heard that they're trying to make it into a race thing. I heard rumors that he couldn't read or write in English, which I don't know how far I could throw that rock because part of getting your certification from school, number one, is that you have to be able to read and write in English. Number two, to take your DMV test, you have to be able to read. You have to be able to read and comprehend English and fill out either writing or a multiple choice questionnaire. So I don't know how far I could throw that rock. Um, yeah, yep, that's what we're finding out too, German. German says, unfortunately, trying to find the original information is being overshadowed by his, excuse me, his sentence. Let me try to do a little bit more digging. Mm. All right. Ooh, I found something here. Hold on. Let's see. Can you guys see me? I'm gonna see my screen. Yeah, there you go. All right. So it says here, Denver 7 reached out to the people who posted several of the videos and called the truck companies they claimed to work for, but did not hear back. Greg Fulton, president of the Colorado Motor Carrier Association, says he has not been made aware of any boycotts and is unaware of any disruption to the supply chain. Um, It says a video showing trucks pulled over on the side of the highway is also being quickly shared on social media, claiming to be a protest of Colorado. However, Fulton says he has checked with companies, drivers, and CDOT cameras and doesn't believe that it is an accurate description of the video. Instead, he believes that the video was taken at a different time when the highway was closed down, possibly due to a weather or an accident, since no other cars are driving on the roadway. While Fulton does feel bad for the driver, he says that the petition that is circulating is incorrect and calling the crash a mechanical failure. I think in our eyes, it's inexperience, a lack of familiarity with the driver of the mountains. He said, I don't think the company should have put them in this position. Okay, so is there going to be any reprimand for the company? At least they should document, especially in such adverse driving conditions, the company should have a mandatory separate training just for mountain driving, especially if that's the area that they travel to. Now, if he's an OTR driver, I think that sending him with someone more experienced should have been what they did. I think that it's important that as an industry we take responsibility when things like this occur. Because of that, Fulton doesn't agree with the calls for a pardon or for the commutation of the driver's sentence. However, he agrees that 110 years does seem to be too stiff. He hopes at some point the sentence can be reevaluated or scaled back. Fulton doesn't want to lose sight of the victims who are lost. Um, he wants to see more outreach to out of state truck companies to make them aware of the dangers of driving in Colorado mountains, more driver training, and more enforcement of speeding in the mountains. Yeah, well, I don't know how I think driver training and allowing time for these drivers to do it. But
Right. Good morning to
I
you,
think
Natasha. Asking Governor Polis to
Sorry.
compute the sentencing as time served or grant clemency to Rogel Aguilera Mederos. Now, we heard from the governor's office, which tells
Oh,
us
these
that they
damn
are aware
ads.
of the quote issue and review each claim.
But I think one thing that isn't really talked about, and Chris can attest to this, is that the demand for drivers is so high, but yet the pay is so low. So when these broker companies contract us to get good drivers on the hook and start hauling freight, if we're taking students fresh out of school, these loads don't pay well enough, as a small business for me to for me to have someone in the truck training with another driver. Like the loads just aren't that lucrative. So which leads to us having to just send the most experienced drivers that we have and offer little to no training to new drivers. And that's why a lot of local companies, which this is something that I was not made aware of when I was in school, that most local companies want you to have a minimum of 2 years of over the road driving experience. Uh, but in recent months, I've heard as little as 6 months of driving experience because they don't want to train. It's not that they don't want to train, is that there's no money in training, number one. And number two, you know, that means that our experienced drivers should be compensated more to deal with the headache, because for that they might as well just do the job themselves. So who has more money to pay the experienced drivers more money to train a less experienced driver or a driver with no experience when they could just do the job themselves and be that much more stress free? Let's see. All right, let's see. Um, it says that Maderos told authorities that, if you guys want to read along with me, this is what I'm reading. He told authorities that the 70s brakes went out as soon as he approached a traffic jam due to a separate accident. He claimed he was traveling at just 45 miles an hour when he realized the brakes were failing. However, the truck reportedly reached a speed of 85 as he struggled to stay within the lanes. Video showed Aguilera passing a truck runaway ramp designed for these types of emergencies. His truck eventually crashed into stop traffic, causing a 28-car pileup that killed 4 people. The victims' names are there. Authorities say no drugs or alcohol were involved in the fire and crash, and road rage didn't appear to be a factor. He was ultimately convicted on 27 criminal counts. All right, let's see what else we can find. There doesn't seem to be an intentionality of murder. He's getting a sentence that will rival a mass murderer. Uh, I mean, it is crazy because mass murderers get similar sentences, or even people with first degree premeditated murder gets less of a sentence than this guy got. It's there's a saying: just because you don't know a law exists doesn't mean that you can't be held accountable for breaking it. Like it's crazy. Like this guy, again, I don't think he's innocent, but do I think he deserves 110 years? Absolutely not. I think that it's not sitting well. The accident was not intentional, nor was it a criminal act on the driver's part. No one but the trucking company he was employed by should be held accountable for this accident. What? Are you reading that, Chris?
I didn't see that.
Right here, I highlighted it. I'll move it up for you. This accident was not intentional, nor was it a criminal act on the driver's part. No one but the trucking company he is or was employed by should be held accountable for this accident. What? That makes no sense. Yeah, that's like me taking full responsibility for my driver Chris here pouring regular gasoline into a diesel engine tank. Like, you should know better. That's I'm over people. Yeah, that's crazy. All right. All right. We are aware of the issue. In all victim impact statements I read, I did not glean from them someone saying he should be in prison for the rest of his life. He should never ever get out. Uh, Whoever Jones is. Judge Bruce Jones. Um, okay, so he's saying in all of the victim impact statements that he read, he did not read that all of the impact statements said something along the lines of that he should be he should be in prison for the rest of his life. There was forgiveness reflected in the statements, but also a desire that he be punished and serve time in prison, and he shares the sentiments. Do, 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 do. Uh, but in Colorado, if you're convicted of a crime of violence, that extends the minimum sentence for each offense. And each of them individually might have, let's say, a 4-year minimum, or because it's a crime of violence, an 8-year minimum. But when you add that up consecutively over this number of charges, you get what's effectively a life sentence. Um, um, I'm trying to see the freaking facts of the case, guys. And then it could also be construed as cruel and unusual punishment too, because it's like just because you're in a certain state, it doubles. And I don't. Yes, it was a violent nature, but I mean, so is like not tying your shoelace and then tripping and falling and then stabbing your classmate with a pencil by accident. You know? Yeah. Let's see. Let me scroll up. Looks like I missed half the chat. Do, 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 do. They ended up putting a runaway ramp in the middle of the highway near the accident. They always had trucks come out of the mountains losing control. Okay. The speed limit on I-40 and I-70 is 85. Not according to the law that I just read, Boris. So for Colorado Department of Transportation, right here, narrow winding mountain highways or blind curves, 20. Open mo- o- open mountain highways is 40.
Yeah, no, but
No,
I 40 is south.
no,
Once you get out,
but he said
once you get out in parts of I 40.
But he said I-40 and I-70 to be specific.
I 70 as well. Once you get out, when you get out in the open plains where there's nothing, you can hammer down, you can cruise. I can't even do the speed limit in this slug.
Yeah. All right, trailer training. Be good. Be safe. Look at the Humboldt crash in Canada. They're gonna deport the guy. All right. Just a nobody says I like your analysis. Thank you. So if it's not criminal, how did? So if it's not criminal, how did the 110 years come to play? Yeah, I know. I see that, Pat Anger. Just a nobody. I feel like you're underpaid. So do I. No truck should be doing 85. Well, now. Now. I don't know if I specifically agree with that, but not 85 downhill, down the side of a dang mountain. The sentence should have been 25 years to life. Yeah, but what we're getting at is should he receive life for this? Let's take a poll right now. Chris, do you think he should have received life for this?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know because he did. at the end of the day, he did make a conscious decision to run into those four-wheelers, and in his own words, he said he chose that because it would hurt less. I'm split. I'm really split. I don't know.
But life, though, it's like I get it. He did make a conscious decision, and he did say those words. Um, but I mean, then why keep him alive? You know?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a long time. I think, you know.
Yeah, that's part of it too. But it's like knowing what we know and knowing what we've expressed on here as kind of like the unofficial facts of the case. I mean, do I think he deserves life? The hell's that? Sorry, that started out of nowhere. Yeah, so do I think. Yeah, do I think he deserves life? Absolutely not. Do I think that he deserves at least 25? I'd say so.
And I still think that company needs to be held liable.
Yep. Yep. I think the company needs to be held liable. And as far as to what extent, I don't know. I don't really know if imposing a fine would be uh, would be justification, but I think proof of I think proof of maybe some type of documentation or certification saying that the driver, like, just how like California has like a special permit tax or something like that, or certain states have you need like a certain permit to haul alcohol or whatever the case may be. Maybe some type of certification on all nationwide for adverse driving conditions and mountain driving if you're going to be operating in certain states. Let's see. Boris the German says the runaway ramps, that's the part I don't get. The safe way he ignores. Again, it all falls back on training. Like I dealt with a guy fresh out of school who had no idea what a cat scale was. Had no idea that the loads that we picked up at our shipping locations um, didn't have a scale. So you had no way of knowing if you were overweight, underweight, appropriate weighted for each axle. You were just guessing. So it really falls down on training. And training would really fall in the hands of A, the school he went to, and B, the company he works for. Excuse me. Company the company you work for. There has to be more to the story. There's always going to be another side of the story we don't know. I truly believe it was over the amount due for true justice. I'd say so too. I'd say so too. Um, like I said, do I believe that he deserves life? Absolutely not. Do I think he should get off with a slap on the wrist? Absolutely not. Um, yeah, but boss, when you get into it, where it says the company needs to do time, how do you send? How do you send? It's like who from the company? Who from the company does time? The owner. What if the owner employs people to make sure that the driver stays in compliance? But I think that most importantly, the responsibility falls on the driver ultimately. Yeah, but that's the problem though. Like a fine to the company, the money isn't gonna change anything. There needs to be a change in the way that drivers are trained. Because when I was in school, they didn't teach us about mountain driving. The only way you're going to learn is if a company does mountain driving and you go out there and get trained. But unless you're like a mega corporation that you have the money and you've been in the game long enough to have a well maintained fleet and a huge fleet of drivers that you can afford to pay, your seasoned vet like Chris O'Malley here, more money for the aggravation of training a new guy and less productivity because it's not that, if I were to send someone over the road with Chris to get trained, I wouldn't consider that team driving. I wouldn't expect Chris to run 11 hours driving and then the other driver driving a separate 11 hours driving. Chris, my seasoned veteran driver, would have to be awake and conscious for the other driver trainee full shift. So that way, Chris can make sure that this trainee is doing everything he is supposed to be doing, making sure that he's watching out for way stations. He's, checking his load. He's doing whatever he needs to do. And if the companies don't have, like for instance, my company, we don't have the money to train people that aren't going to make it. So then it's like we got to keep running these very basic paid loads, after our fuel and after our truck expenses and insurance and taxes and paying Chris and then paying, uh, you know, everyone that has their hands in the pot, the company is barely left with pennies. So now taking all those pennies to train a driver just for that driver to go off and work for a company like Schneider or JB Hunt or Swift, a company that can offer them more benefits and health care and all of that stuff, it's like we can only do so much. Let's see. I've driven a truck with air leaks. They didn't care it leaked. Just get there on time or you're fired. Don't tell me this crap. Don't go on now. But again, modern trucks log truck speeds, gears, etc. So you are absolutely right. But, you know, and that's Boris makes a very good point. So, it is like an unspoken, just like it's unspoken for you to take the truck ramp and kill yourself before you put the general public at risk. Uh, it's almost unwritten that if you have an air leak or if you have something wrong with your truck, it should be addressed. But there are certain circumstances where it's not a dire repair. And one of the things is, air leaks. Should it be addressed right away? Yes. Everything should be addressed right away. That's why pre-trip and post-trips are very, very important. If anything, some would say the post-trip is more important than the pre-trip. Why is that, Chris?
Well, I wouldn't say it's more important, but at least if you do a good post trip, you have at least 10 hours to get something repaired.
Exactly. So
instead of waking up in the morning and
getting it addressed,
and now having to sit and wait for somebody to come fix your truck.
So Boris the German said, very true. He picked up the lumber, then it rained and it soaked lumber. Now he's at 100,000 pounds. There's no, I don't think physically, I don't think it's possible for wood to absorb 20,000 pounds just from driving through rain. I think the wood would have to be submersed in water for it to be able to absorb that much weight. All right. I've seen the weight double wet. I work for Swift and Warner. They do put you through those crazy air. Okay, so that. All right, so let's talk about that, boss. So boss's comment says, I work for Swift and Warner. They do put you through those crazy areas like Colorado, Virginia, and California. So now when you when you drive through all those areas, were you give us an idea of the time you had as like how much experience you had as a driver versus how much time were you put behind the wheel next to a driver trainer through some of those areas? I mean, I've heard of wood absorbing weight, and we've had our fair share of experience like that as well. But you know, overnight, I don't know. I don't think you're gonna gain an extra 20,000 pounds of water. And I guess that's kind of why tarping is important, because then that's one way of making sure the moisture content of your freight doesn't vary as dramatic. Let's see. All right, so should have given the kid an automatic. You're kind of, I think you're kind of late to the topic, but we we don't know. We don't know what kind of transmission was in that vehicle, but just to sum it up, because we're already on our going on 2 hours here. Um, Depending on the operator, automatic could have made it better or it could have made it worse. Because if you have an automatic, the truck should be the one the truck should be able to do its job, but it doesn't always. And then it puts more onus on the driver to it's almost like it's almost like taking the onus of responsibility and putting it from man to machine. Whereas in a manual transmission truck, it is expected of you to to have your vehicle under control, whether it's your lane, your speed, what gear you're in, all of that on top of everything that's expected of you, and your safety measures for your pre-trip and your post-trip. But then when you have an automatic and all these students want to go to school with automatic restrictions, they don't know about overriding the transmissions. They don't know about getting locked out of the transmission. They don't know about that. So they just think that the truck is going to be able to find a gear, stick with it, and do what it's supposed to do. But in actuality, in the real world, that's not how it works, and that's not how it goes. So, yep. I mean, but Boris the German, you said you know that on grades, keep it in a gear always. It doesn't matter if you're on a grade or on flat ground. If you are driving or anticipating on moving your vehicle, you should always be in a gear. And the transmission can't do it all. That's why you rely on the trifecta of forces. You're relying on the engine brake. You're relying on being in the correct gear. That that's depending on if it's an automatic or a manual transmission. In one sense or the other, it's more of the driver's responsibility on that than the other two. Is always making sure that you're in a gear and in the correct gear, no matter automatic or manual. But they don't teach that for automatic. For that's why I always tell students, if you have an automatic restriction on your license, go back and get it lifted. My last trainee, he was over there smacking the shifter because he's trying to override the transmission. And then, there was sometimes the transmission was chirping at him, telling him, he's not in on the right RPM, not on the right road speed for what for the uh, for what he's trying to do. And then other times he's on it, it synchronizes, it matches up, it drops in gear or pops in the right gear. And I'm like, if you wanted to do all of that, then why didn't you just go for the full course? Why? Like you gypped yourself out of a good experience. So you're relying on the trifecta of forces. You're relying on your engine brake or your Jake brake. You're relying on being in the correct gear, and then you're also relying on your knowledge of your brakes, your weight, and everything that goes against the resisting friction forces that your brakes can output. So you need, as the driver, you need to understand all three. And if he has an automatic restriction on his license, he's not going to understand that, it's still on the driver's responsibility to make sure that your truck is always in a gear, number one, and B, in the correct gear. So you're relying on a trifecta of forces: transmission, engine, and brake to help control the speed and the speed of your vehicle. Oh. Sorry, Boris. Um, yeah. See, Boss does make a good point. Automatic trucks are good for like inner city, where it's a lot of stop and go traffic and stuff, because your clutch leg will burn out, it will wear out, and nobody wants that. But it's you as the driver know what you signed up for, and if your calf is burning and you need to take a break, pull over. That's it. Pull over. Take a quick five. If traffic's not really moving, you're not really gonna go anywhere fast anyway. Pull over, take a 5-10 minute break, let your clutch leg rest, and that's it. It's either that or keep enough distance. And this is for all my manual transmission drivers. Keep a really great distance between you and the vehicle in front of you, and keep your truck in the lowest gear. And don't ride the clutch, don't ride the brake, don't ride the gas. Just keep your foot, keep your feet where they need to be, just not active. German says, what do you recommend? Long haul or day trips? For what? Yeah, I can agree and attest to what Boris said. All right, boss says, I feel that it is a big secret about the training on automatic, the manufacturer, that they're not trying to talk about. Yep. So I mean, if you're driving an automatic, it's still your responsibility as the driver to make sure that you have full control over your vehicle no matter what at all times. All times. That's it. But do I think this man deserves 110 years? Absolutely not. So, all right, guys, we're pulling up on 2 hours here. If you guys have any closing arguments, statements, let's get them out now. Any final thoughts? Let's get it in now. Long haul, a 10 speed, I definitely agree with that, because you could do a lot more, and not and something else that's not really talked about, and I know Chris could attest to that, but in adverse driving conditions such as muddy job sites, snow, uh, different various grades, uneven terrain, what they don't teach you and what you don't know until it's trial by fire is that you have way more control over your vehicle in a manual transmission vehicle than you do in an automatic. I don't even care if the automatic truck has a manual transmission mode. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's why us, uh, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm an OG trucker, but someone who is on the line of understanding and greatly appreciating the old way of in trucking lifestyle, but for someone who can clearly and shamelessly say I am not cut from the same cloth, and I don't like driving, for extended periods of time. Commercial trucks should always remain manual, in my opinion. Automatic, I think it's okay if you're like a local delivery guy, maybe. But when you're stuck on a hill, when you're stuck in snow, there's nothing like that brute force that the manual transmission can put out without bogging you down and trying to protect the 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 computer of the truck isn't trying to protect the engine from overheating or being overworked or the uh, the the traction control trying to step in. When you have a manual transmission truck, it's all brute force. It's all brute force. You get so much more power and control out of a manual transmission vehicle, especially in the adverse driving conditions, that you're not going to get in an automatic ever. Ever. I don't care what you say. All right, German, be good. Be safe. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. All right, so final thoughts here, guys. Closing arguments, closing statements. Chris, you got anything?
Nope, not me.
Chris thinks he's innocent and should walk. Just joking. All right, anybody else in the live? Make sure you guys smash that like button. Share this. Way to go, Boris. Way to go. All right. I think we're going to close up shop here. I know I just had some oatmeal, but it's time for lunch. All right, yeah. So if there's any more, yep, it is an accident. So if there's any more developments in the case, we will be sure to uh, get into it and talk about it. And I don't know why my screen split like that, but I don't know why half of me froze. It don't make no sense. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this live. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Big Mike with Safford Delivery and Transportation Services. He's Chris O'Malley. We appreciate you guys watching the live and ping ponging some ideas off each other and keeping it cool, calm, collected, and civil. And thank you for not turning this into a very big political debate. Um, and you got nothing to add to it, right, Chris?
Nope, not me. I'm good.
All right. So Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Teach your kids the arm pump.
Won't, won't. With that being said, we are out and about. And as soon as I can get my taste buds back, I'll be coming back at y'all with some more food reviews. I am able to taste chocolate. I realized that yesterday. But as far as most of my other uh, flavor profiles, I haven't gotten that back yet. So it seems like chocolate and coconut are pretty much the only two things I can really taste. So, which is kind of weird. But unless Chris wants to do a food review, and Chris said he's gonna show you guys how to make some good trucker poo poo platters coming soon. And Chris is the what is that? He is the unofficial. He is the unofficial king of KY jelly. You heard it here first. Hey Chris, why don't you tell him that story real quick before we go?
All right, I'll give you a quick story.
All right, kids, gather around. Grandpa Chris is gonna tell us a story.
I was sitting at a Love's, and I had full visual of the shop, and Snap-on truck pulled up. And you know what time it is when the Snap-on truck pulls up. And a couple minutes later, a second Snap-on truck pulled up. So I had to go inside regardless. I grabbed a can of a little jar of Vaseline, brought it to the guys inside the shop. You know, I said, I saw the Snap-on trucks pull up. I figured you guys might need this. Anyway, I ended up throwing the Vaseline in a bag that I have that sits in a cubby hole. It's got all my extra toiletries, and this little cubby hole gets warm. And
a cubby hole in the truck getting warm. Y'all heard it
the other day to get a new deodorant, and the can of Vaseline had exploded. And I was on the phone with Mike, and for some reason, instead of calling it Vaseline, I called it KY jelly.
So when he told me it was KY jelly, I was like, I just wanted to listen to the story. I didn't want to interrupt. That is great. But I told Chris KY jelly tastes great on toast, especially if you get the strawberry or grape flavor. You know what I'm saying? Your lips will be the moistest it's ever been. And your food will go down a lot easier too. You guys should try it. Now, full disclosure, don't try that. We don't endorse that. But make sure you guys keep Vaseline in your warm cubby holes. Oh man, you guys have been great. You guys have been awesome. We want to wish you guys from our team to your family the merriest of holidays, the merriest of Christmases, and we hope that you guys sincerely get everything that you guys want for Christmas and all the 8 nights of Hanukkah combined. So you guys be good, be safe. We love you. Be good. And we'll see you guys on the next one. If we get any more updates about what's going on, we'll keep you guys posted. So without further ado, see you later.